Well, lads, what's the crack? And we are so back. Yes, because it is at the point of the season now, lads, where it is the return of the Champions League. And I am so excited for the Champions League. We've got 6 games across 3 days, midweek, and I have to say, there are some mouth-watering ties coming up already on the first match week of the Champions League. Now, I am looking forward to it so much because it's the biggest and best teams in Europe, apart from Man United. However, we will be back as soon as possible. However, the football is good. Every game is entertaining. There's just constant, chaos in every game as well. And so that's why I love the Champions League so much, especially the league phase, and I'm so excited to get into these predictions. The series did so well last year, and I think everyone needed to support the series last year, and now I want your support once again for the series this year, because I'll be predicting every single game in the Champions League, as well as the Europa League and the Europa Conference League when they do start as well. So, as always, lads, remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you're enjoying all my content, if you haven't yet done so. As always, remember to like the video, really does go a long way to give me as much support as possible. Click the bell so you never miss out on one of my latest uploads. Share this video as well around to as many people as possible. And so then, lads, let's get into this Champions League predictions for match week 1. Also, lads, this year a slight change is being made because I will be competing against the AI. I'm going to talk through my predictions, briefly talk through theirs, and each week we're going to compete. We're going to do 1 point for a correct result, i.e. correctly predicting a certain team to win or a draw in the game, and 2 points for a completely correct result and predicting, like, say for example, Sporting win 2-1. That if we predict that, we get 2 points. So I hope you all do understand that. So let's get into today's prediction video. So then, starting off in the first game on Tuesday night, it sees Athletic Club making their first appearance in the Champions League in 11 years, and they're welcoming to the San Mamés the Gunners Arsenal. Yes, a massive game here for Athletic Club to kickstart things off, back in the Champions League for the first time in over a decade. And listen, in my opinion, they're going to keep this one competitive because Arsenal, in my opinion, are one of the best teams in the competition, obviously. And over the weekend, they defeated Nottingham Forest easily 3-0 there on home turf at the Emirates. And I have to say, lads, they were looking fantastic there. And this season, the quality in their starting 11 and on the bench too is out of this world. However, in my opinion, this game is going to be far from straightforward from the Gunners, because I do believe Athletic Club, although in my opinion they can be slightly overrated, I do believe we're going to see Athletic Club really make this one challenging. I think their first home game, is going to be a raucous atmosphere. They're going to defend really well, in my opinion, too, with players like Unai Simon and now Aymeric Laporte back in the back line as well. And so I do believe Arsenal may struggle to find a breakthrough here in this one. However, do I believe the Gunners will still win this one? Yes, I'm going to go for a narrow 1-0 win for the Gunners come the final whistle. I'm going to go for a Victor Gyökeres penalty actually here in this one. That's going to be the thing that separates the two sides here. It's going to be a struggle for Arsenal in the north of Spain. However, Arteta side will kickstart their Champions League campaign with 3 points on the board away against Athletic Club. Meanwhile, ChatGPT does agree with me. However, they're predicting Arsenal to win this one 2-1. Next game then, we go to the Netherlands with PSV Eindhoven against Union Saint-Gilloise. This could be the Belgian side's debut in the Champions League, so fair play if it is so. However, it won't be easy whatsoever. I mean, maybe it is one of their slightly more favourable fixtures, in my opinion, in the league phase, but still, it's away from home. PSV are still a very good side. They won over the weekend 5-3 away against NEC Nijmegen in the Eredivisie. I hope I said that name right, but still, overall, they're a very good side. There's still plenty of goals in that side as well. And in my opinion, Union Saint-Gilloise, their first game of the season in the Champions League, is going to be a bit of a struggle here. So I'm going to go for PSV to win this one by 3-1 pretty comfortably on home turf. Meanwhile, ChatGPT has faith in the Belgian side, and it's going down the middle for a 1-1 draw. Next game then is our first big one of the season. It takes us to the Allianz Stadium in Turin as Juventus, the old lady, are welcoming the Yellow Wall Borussia Dortmund here in this one. A very interesting affair here. Juventus over the weekend, they won a 7-goal thriller 4-3 at home to their rivals Inter Milan. What a victory it was there, and the goal to win it in the 96th minute, an absolute screamer, one of the best goals you'll see all season as well. To win it like that, it's just insane, of course. Now, I know many people have criticised Juventus for maybe not having the best squad on paper, but in my opinion, under Igor Tudor, they're playing some fantastic football, and there's some very good players in there still. But Borussia Dortmund, once again, are the same, of course, some very good players in there as well. And so, in my opinion, this game has all the ingredients for being a fantastic one. The two sides met in pre-season at the Signal Iduna Park, and a finished a 2-1 victory for Juventus there that time out. So that game would have been perfect for both sides to figure out, sort of how they're going to play against against each other eventually here in the Champions League. And in my opinion, lads, you know what? Although this game definitely can be a very good one, something's telling me this one's going to be a bit of a boring one. I think both sides will be pretty defensive here in this one. Neither side will find a breakthrough, so I'm going to go down the middle for, unfortunately, a boring 0-0 draw come the final whistle. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is predicting Borussia Dortmund to win this one 2-1 away from home against the old lady. Next then we go to the Santiago Bernabeu, as it is Real Madrid hosting Marseille here in this one. Another very good and very interesting game as well. Real Madrid on home turf in the Champions League will undoubtedly be the favourites. However, Marseille, I'm really interested to see how they do get on here in this one, because they've got a very good side on paper. They're playing some fantastic football over the past year or two as well. Some very good forwards in there, such as Mason Greenwood, and of course there's plenty of goals in here too. So I do believe this Marseille side can at least make this one a competitive fixture. However, Real Madrid, yes, they've had their issues. They haven't been 100% perfect yet this season, but still, I do believe they'll be pretty decent here in this one. And overall, players like Mbappe, Arda Güler, Vinicius, maybe even Franco Mastantuono in the forward line are going to do the damage here in this one. And Marseille, although they will play good football, progressive football, I'm going to say that'll hurt them defensively. And so Real Madrid will win this one 3-1, hoping they're account in the Champions League this season. And surprisingly, ChatGPT is actually going to agree with me here. It's predicting 3-1 as well for Real Madrid. Next, then we go to Portugal for Benfica against Qarabag. Qarabag, the Azerbaijani side, are back in the Champions League. However, if you did watch my league phase prediction video, which I do advise you do watch after this video, you would know I predicted Qarabag to finish rock bottom on 0 points. And so does that mean I'm going to say they win this one here? No. Benfica got some fantastic players such as Pavlidis and Sudakov and Shelder up in their forward line. And so in my opinion, they can score plenty of goals here in this one. Qarabag will get in the score sheet, but Benfica will comfortably win 4-1 on home turf. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is predicting a much more simple 2-0 victory for the home side Benfica. And we finish off the Tuesday night games then in North London as Tottenham Hotspur announced their return to the Champions League after a brief absence, and they are hosting the Yellow Submarine from Spain, Villarreal here in this one. Now, another very interesting one here. And in my opinion, yes, Spurs on paper have a much better side. And last weekend, defeating West Ham 3-0 away from home in that comfortable fashion as well, especially in the second half, is going to help their case for many people that say that Spurs win this one here, especially on home turf. However, in my opinion, Villarreal are a side to be reckoned with here. Yes, maybe aren't the best team overall in the Champions League, but still, they're a side who can cause upsets, and I do believe they're going to cause upsets this season in the Champions League. They played Arsenal away from home in a friendly in North London, and they won that game there in pre-season. And those are only pre-season now, but they did prove that they're capable of winning games against sides like Arsenal. And so in my opinion, if they can defeat Arsenal in pre-season, they can defeat Spurs here. So is that me saying that Villarreal will defeat Spurs here and away from home? Yes, I'm going to go for Villarreal to shock Spurs here in this one and come away with a 2-1 victory away from home here come the final whistle. Spurs, in my opinion, won't be 100% perfect yet. They're still settling in under Thomas Frank, so there will be blips like this along the line. And so overall, Villarreal got some good players in there. They are capable of causing upsets, and so in my opinion, they will win this one with Nicolas Pepe, the former gunner, scoring the winner as well. Meanwhile, ChatGPT does agree with me that Spurs will not defeat Villarreal. However, they do believe Spurs will get a point here, predicting a 1-1 draw. Starting off the Wednesday night fixtures then in Greece with Olympiacos hosting Champions League debutants Pafos from Cyprus here. Interesting to see how Pafos do get on here. I do believe they can be a half-decent side and can get a couple of points here and there. However, Olympiacos, in my opinion, are a very good side. And their striker, El Kaabi, I do believe, is a goal machine as well. So, in my opinion, Olympiacos will actually do pretty well here in the league phase. And this is a perfect game to set them up for what could be a successful league phase. So, in my opinion, Olympiacos wins this one very comfortably 3-0 on home turf here in Greece. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is predicting a much more simple 2-0 victory for the home side here. Next then we go to the Czech Republic as Slavia Prague are hosting Champions League debutants once again. Bodø Glimt from Norway. It's fantastic to see Bodø Glimt finally in the Champions League because they deserve it. All those years of fantastic football in the Europa League, in the Europa Conference League, and finally they've made it to the top tier of European football. It's very good to see. However, it's not going to be an easy start whatsoever. Away against Slavia Prague, who will view Bodø Glimt as their rival to try get into the knockouts here in this season's Champions League. So this game definitely will have high tensions, even though it's only the opening game. However, you know what, Bodø Glimt, they won 7-1 over the weekend there. They're coming into this one in fine form, and I'm going to say they announce their arrival in the Champions League with a bang here. It's going to be simple, it's going to be narrow and tight, but I'm confident Bodø Glimt will defeat Slavia Prague narrowly 1-0 away from home here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT believes there will be nothing to separate the sides, and so believes Slavia Prague will hold out for a 1-1 draw on home turf here. Next game then, we've got Ajax. The Dutch Giants are finally back in the Champions League once again after a brief absence, and this time to open up their account, they're hosting last year's Champions League finalists in Inter, of course. Now, Inter, ever since that Champions League final, it hasn't really been going too smoothly. However, I do believe fortunes will turn around once again for the Italian Giants very, very soon. They've lost their past 2 games in their own Serie A, at home to Udinese 2-1, and of course away against Juventus 4-3 there over the weekend as well. So if there's ever a game that need to get back in the form, I believe it's this one here. Now, Inter's defence is really shocking over the past number of games because they haven't really been too defensively sound over the past number of games than what they usually have been. However, here in this one, Ajax, in my opinion, don't have too many clear goal scoring threats here, so I do believe Inter will keep a clean sheet here, and once again it's going to be tight and narrow, but they'll just make it over the finish line here. It's going to be a very narrow but massive 1-0 victory for Inter to get 3 points to kickstart their campaign away against Ajax here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT agrees with me that Inter Milan will defeat Ajax, but they believe it's going to finish with a 2-1 victory. Next game then, we've got us another big hitter here at the Allianz Arena as Bayern Munich are hosting Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea are back in the Champions League for the first time in nearly 3 years, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the likes of Cole Palmer and João Pedro and Estevao, etc., and even Alejandro Garnacho and Pedro Neto are going to fare in the Champions League with the Chelsea side. Chelsea, since their last appearance in the Champions League, are a completely different side, and so I'm so excited to see how they do fare in this year's Champions League. However, it's not an easy start whatsoever. In fact, it's probably the hardest possible start they could have asked for away from home against Bayern Munich, who, with the likes of Harry Kane, on on-form Serge Gnabry, Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, etc., all on their forward line, can definitely score goals for fun as well, especially with Robert Sanchez and that's for Chelsea as well. So, in my opinion, lads, this could arguably be the game of the match week. I do believe it's going to be goals galore here in this one. Highly entertaining stuff. Chelsea will stick with Bayern the entire game. They'll not let go all game. They're going to keep it competitive. However, Bayern on home turf, playing good football under Vincent Kompany, I cannot see Bayern getting anything less than 3 points here in this one. So although Chelsea will give it their all, they're going to fall short here in this one, lose their opening Champions League game, as Bayern will come away with a narrow but very entertaining 3-2 victory on home turf against Enzo Maresca's Blues. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is predicting a more comfortable victory for Bayern Munich here, predicting them to defeat Chelsea 3-1 in their opening game. And straight after that, we've got yet another big hitter. This time it takes us to Anfield as Liverpool are hosting Atletico Madrid here. Now, once again, when these two sides do face off against each other in the Champions League, you know there's going to be chaos, you know there's going to be entertainment as well. And once again, lads, I'm expecting this between Arne Slot and Diego Simeone's sides. Liverpool, for the 4th time in their first 4 games of the season, were once again bailed out by a last-minute winner thanks to Salah's penalty to get a 1-0 victory away against Burnley there on Sunday. Whereas for Atletico Madrid, of course, I do believe they've been okay so far this season. However, they haven't really blown the world away. However, they still do have good forwards such as Julian Alvarez and Antoine Griezmann to cause Liverpool some problems defensively. And I do believe actually Atletico Madrid will cause Liverpool plenty of problems here in this one. However, this Liverpool side does seem to, have that sort of knack of scoring goals very late on, sort of in Fergie time, or as they probably call it, Arne Slot time, of course. It will also be interesting to see, will Alexander Isak play here in this one? Only time will tell, I suppose. But overall, I do believe, although Atletico Madrid are going to really make this one a hard one for Liverpool at Anfield, I said Anfield, it's Liverpool's opener in the Champions League, and I can't see them losing this one here. So I'm going to say Liverpool will narrowly get through this one with a big 2-1 victory on home turf against Simeone's Atletico. However, ChatGPT is saying Atletico Madrid will steal something from Anfield, and it's going for a 2-2 draw here against Liverpool. And to finish off the Wednesday night games, then we go to the Parc des Princes as the reigning champions PSG are going to be hosting Ivan Juric's Atalanta side here. Another interesting game, of course, and this will sort of set the tone for Atalanta's season. I'm still not too sure about them this season because I don't think their manager is good enough in Ivan Juric. However, only time will tell how good or bad he's going to be with Atalanta this season, of course. However, PSG, of course, are PSG. I think they're missing Ousmane Dembele here from this one. They're missing a few players anyway, and maybe, they haven't been as dominant as they were at the end of last season, but still expecting to win this one here. Their first game in the Champions League and the first game of the Champions League at home turf since They won the competition as well, so there's going to be a fantastic atmosphere and a great buzz around Paris for this one. And overall, I do believe PSG will put on a show. They're going to play fantastic football. They're going to find out Atalanta big time, and so I'm going to say PSG comfortably wins this one 3-0 on home turf at the Parc des Princes. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going for a slightly more conservative 2-0 victory for the home side PSG here. And now we finish off with the Thursday night fixture, starting off in Belgium as Club Brugge will be hosting AS Monaco here in this one. Now, this definitely is a game for me, which could get you excited, of course, because two sides you play some great football, two sides you score plenty of goals as well. So I do believe actually this game could be very interesting to watch, of course. You know, this Monaco side really does excite me a lot, as does the Club Brugge side, of course, as well. And the Club Brugge on home turf definitely could fancy the chances here in this one against the French side. So I do believe, lads, there's going to be plenty of goals and entertainment here in this one. It's going to be a 5-goal thriller here in Bruges. However, I'm actually going to go for the away side Monaco, who looks slightly better on paper to win this one here. It's going to be narrow, it's going to be tight, but it's going to be an entertaining 3-2 victory for Monaco away from home here in Belgium against Club Brugge. Meanwhile, ChatGPT agrees with me and is also going for a Monaco win, this time predicting the French side to win 2-1. Next, then we head to the capital of Denmark as FC Copenhagen, their first game in the Champions League after a year away, and they're welcoming the German side Bayern Leverkusen. Now, if you weren't watching my Champions League phase prediction video, then you wouldn't have heard this, but I was watching Leverkusen play against Frankfurt in their 3-1 victory on Friday night, and I have to say, under Kasper Hjulmand, I was very impressed with their system and watching for players such as Nathan Tella here in this one and Alejandro Grimaldo as well on this Leverkusen side. However, in my opinion, it's still going to be a bit of a shaky start under new management. Copenhagen, in my opinion, are a very good side, even though they lost over the weekend 2-1 against Brøndby. However, still, I do believe we're going to see Copenhagen really putting a good performance here with players such as Mohamed Aliouzi really scoring plenty of goals here to help his home side's efforts a lot here in this one. And so you know what, lads, I'm going to say Copenhagen will hold Leverkusen to a hard-fought and well-earned 2-2 draw here come the final whistle, and an entertaining draw here in Copenhagen. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is saying no messing around for Leverkusen and is predicting the German side to win this one 3-1 away from home. Next time we do head back to Germany as Eintracht Frankfurt are going to be hosting Galatasaray. Now, obviously, I watched Leverkusen play on Friday night. I would have also watched Frankfurt play on Friday night as well. There, of course, they lost the game 3-1. It wasn't their best performance as well. However, Can Ozun is looking like he's in fantastic form already this season. And still overall, like, Frankfurt aren't a bad side either. So I do expect them to at least have a good chance here in this one. But Galatasaray, lads, their squad is looking absolutely fantastic coming into this tournament. They've got a goal machine in Victor Osimhen up top. They've also got Leroy Sané in as now. They've also signed Ilkay Gundogan. They've also got Mauro Icardi in there too. That front line is absolutely mouth-watering. And I think the Turkish winger Yilmaz as well is still there. So if that is the case, then that Galatasaray front line is mouth-watering. They've also got Gabriel Sara and Lucas Torreira in midfield too. Overall, the Turks are looking very, very good coming into this one. And once again, lads, I think this one's going to be a 5-goal thriller. It's very hard to separate the sides. However, you know what? I'm going to say Galatasaray will announce their return after year-end the Champions League with a bang. It's going to be an entertaining smash and grab 3-2 victory for the away side as Galatasaray will scrape through and get a huge 3 points away against Eintracht Frankfurt. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is thinking there's going to be nothing to separate these sides, and so is predicting a 1-1 draw between the German side and the Turkish side. Next game, then we head back to England, this time to the Etihad Stadium, as Manchester City are going to be hosting Napoli from Italy here in this one now. A very interesting game once again, of course. Man City obviously won the Manchester derby with ease, a 3-0 victory there over United, of course, over the weekend. However, as I watched that game, I'm here to tell you something, lads. This Man City side isn't all that. I know I hyped them up all pre-season, however, that City side is still bang average, lads. And so, in my opinion, this game here is not going to be straightforward whatsoever. Napoli especially, a side who's only lost one competitive game all year in 2025. That came against Como in Serie A back in February. They're in fantastic form at the moment, lads. They've got Rasmus Højlund, who loves a European tournament game. He scored a goal in his debut away against Fiorentina as well as that. Then Scott McTominay is in the form of his life. Kevin De Bruyne is returning to the Etihad, so Man City will be hoping he doesn't deliver his goods once again here in this one. Labotka is a very good midfielder. Overall, lads, they're a complete side. They really are a complete side, lads. And so, in my opinion, this game is going to be far from straightforward for Pep Guardiola's side. However, in my opinion, Man City will learn a lot from, maybe not being too good over the past number of games, and I'm expecting a massive response here in this one, especially after that massive 3-0 victory over United there over the weekend. So I'm going to say Man City will compete very well with Napoli here in this one, and we'll get a 2-0 victory in what is going to be a very tricky game, in my opinion, for Pep Guardiola's side. ChatGPT also thinks Man City will defeat Napoli, and they're predicting them to win 3-1. 2 games to go then. We remain in England once again. This time we go up to the northeast, the St James's Park. Newcastle United on the other side here, return of the Champions League after a year away. And this time to kickstart their campaign. Last time they kickstarted at home to PSG. This time to kickstart at home to Barcelona. And oh my word, lads, this game is looking absolutely mouth-watering. And to be honest, lads, Barcelona fans, be scared. Newcastle, St James's Park is one of the scariest atmospheres to play in, of course. And with Lamine Yamal possibly being out of this game as well, I tell you what, Newcastle have every fighting chance here in this one to win. Now, obviously, Barcelona, yes, are a very good side. They defeated Valencia 6-0 last night in the Liga 2. They're about to move into their new stadium. The buzz around Barcelona at the minute is very high. And they've got players like Lewandowski, Rafinha still available, Marcus Rashford, will be playing in this one too. So, Barcelona still are the favourites coming into this one. However, Newcastle on home turf, they're playing some good football as well. Nick Valtamata scored the only goal in their 1-0 victory at home to Wolves there over the weekend too. And so in my opinion, lads, Newcastle, good atmosphere. They're going to put in one of the best performances of the season. And in my opinion, lads, are we going to see Newcastle repeat what they did to PSG 2 years ago? Yes, I'm going to go for one of the magical nights at St James's Park as Newcastle defeat Barcelona 3-2 here. Barca will not get the start they want whatsoever, but Newcastle, with a raucous atmosphere and fantastic performance, they will just about edge past Barca and get a massive 3 points, one of the most memorable nights in St James's Park history. ChatGPT also cannot see Barcelona winning away against Newcastle. However, it is confident that Hansi Flick's side will get a point here in this one and a well-fought 2-2 draw. And to finish off the match week then, we've got Sporting Club de Portugal hosting Qarabag all the way from Kazakhstan. This away day, lads, is absolutely insane. This is like, 5,000, 6,000 kilometres. Qarabag have had to travel over here. There's a graphic up there now comparing some other distances. And you'll just see, lads, how crazy it is. However, here in this one, Qarabag, yes, they're a decent enough defence. However, I do believe Sporting are looking okay, of course. Yes, Los Gyökeres, but Luis Suarez, the Colombian or Ecuadorian or Venezuelan, Luis Suarez, he's looking okay so far this season. And so in my opinion, Qarabag, it's not going to be a debut in the Champions League to remember. Sporting will put a little blade pretty ruthlessly here in Portugal. So I'm going to go for Sporting to win this one comfortably 4-1 on home turf. Meanwhile, ChatGPT believes Sporting will win this one pretty comfortably as well with a conservative 2-0 victory. Anyway, lads, we're going to end today's Champions League predictions for match. We're going to hope you'll have enjoyed it, of course. What do you think is going to happen in the opening match of the Champions League? Let me know in the comments below. As always, lads, remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell, share this video to as many people as possible. And so we'll see you all in the next one here on KDFG.